There's a lot of aggro.
Yeah, I mean, if there had been a lot of control, then Mooner's lineup would be really phenomenal. But unfortunately, he's going to have to contest a lot of aggro decks here. But getting into game number 1, it's going to be Mooner on the Resurrect Priest deck, which is something that we've seen sort of be play in the standard format through the use of Zarek's Cloning Gallery and like Malagos, but in Wild, it is so much more powerful, and that is because of Barnes.
Absolutely. I mean, this version, I'm really surprised he actually brought this version because it doesn't have statue, and that's going to be a huge kind of it's going to be like a huge disadvantage for him, especially going up against these like mid-range shamans and kind of like aggro decks. And you do see, unfortunately, the even shaman Truss doesn't have the best opening hand. Well, I say that. And then,
it got a heck of a lot better with just a totem golem off the top. But yeah, the Obsidian statue not being in the list for Mooner, he's gone with a more spell damage version similar to the standard variant that does have Malagos, Prophet Velen, Mind Blasts, and Holy Smites, whereas Truss is playing a big priest that does have Barnes, of course, and Obsidian Statue and Ragnaros, so more of the standard board control style of big priest for Truss, and Mooner has that spell damage closer to standard variant. But even Shaman is suffering a little bit now because of the balance patch that happened very recently. Flame Tongue Totem now costs 3 mana, so they're losing a lot of the early aggression.
Yeah, and that also affects Thing from Below. Like, you wouldn't really think so, but if you are playing like 2 Flame Tongue Totems on curve, that's a slower Thing from Below that you're going to be getting out around maybe like turn 4 or even 5.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't see that top deck there. So this is only going to pull Emperor Forreston, Malagos, or Velens. Oh, no, pardon me. I missed that. I missed Yasiraj.
The fourth and best version, which is when you pull Yasiraj, and that grabs Prophet Velen as well. So now Mooner is going to have Yasiraj, Velen, and Barnes in the pool for Resurrect and Eternal Servitude. Remember, Resurrect, 2 mana, summon a copy of any minion on your side that has died this game. Really good card, turns out.
It turns out it's pretty good for 2 mana.
Yeah, not bad. When you're pulling Barnes back, not the greatest that it could be, but when you're resurrecting a Yasiraj for 2 mana, you can see why this deck is all over the Wild ladder.
So this trade's really awkward now. I mean, you have to kill Yasiraj here, and you have to kill Barnes, I think, on this turn. Just to give, because if your opponent does have Resurrect in hand, you want to give him that 50-50. So I think it might just be, it doesn't look good, but maybe a Jade Lightning on the Barnes and trade away the Yasiraj. That means you are leaving up a Velens on that turn.
Playing against Big Priest does consistently feel bad.
It does.
Because you're forced to make these decisions where you have to kill the Yasiraj on the board.
Yeah.
If you don't, it's going to pull more minions from the deck. But how realistic is it ever really to hope that they don't have a Resurrect or an Eternal Servitude?
Yeah.
They always have it.
You got to be really, really unlucky. I mean, obviously, when you mulligan for this deck, you obviously keep stuff like Shadow Visions, Barnes, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's just a high chance that they're going to find those Resurrect cards in the first 4 to 6 turns, I'd say.
I mean, Barnes is so important that Spell Hunter is played a little bit in Wild as well, and players are playing 2 copies of Master's Call just so they can have it on turn 3 to guaranteed have Barnes on turn 4.
Absolutely.
That is how vital the card is to this deck. Without Barnes, the deck is going to be a lot slower. It's going to be a lot more similar to the standard variant, where you have to wait for Shadow Essence to really get your cards going. But you can see here, Truss just... what's he supposed to do?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the Even Shaman can run Hex, you run Devolve, but you don't beat that board on turn 6. It just doesn't happen.
Even Shaman, you need to get a really good start against that sort of deck, and then just hope that they don't have that early Barnes or kind of Shadow Essence. And unfortunately, a Devolve probably wouldn't have done it either. And I know that deck doesn't have Hex there, so he's a bit in a bad position there.
Devolve is great against minions that have been buffed and started small. But against 10 drops and 9 drops and 8 drops, you're still left with a board of big stuff.
You're kind of hedging your bets there and praying for what's the worst? Dragon Hatcher, that's the worst 9 drop, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though that's got synergy, pulls Malagos. If you didn't already
have it.
We want
Dragon Hatcher, we want Hyreek the Bat.
And Hyreek, yeah. 7
Lioness's Sunsorrow.
Lionessa, yeah, there you go.
Then you can win the game.
Perfect.
Then you can win the game.
That would actually win the game.